Hi there, Carrie Rhoades here with Carrie Stamps. Thank you so much for purchasing my Birthday Basics Turnabout tutorial, which is my stamp set of the month for March 2019. It's such a fun stamp set. I hope that you enjoy creating backgrounds with this stamp set as much as I have, and then accessorizing your cards with this fun coordinating die set. So in this video, first I'm going to show you how to make a background using this turnabout stamp, and then I'm going to show you 4 cards made with different backgrounds, and I will show you each of the color combinations for those backgrounds before the card starts. And then you also have the PDF tutorial to follow along and get the measurements on how to make these cards. So I hope that you have lots of fun making these, and that if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. All right, let's get stamping. So here's the stamp set, Birthday Basics Turnabout. We're going to be using this large image to create our backgrounds. And so what we want to do is put that onto this template that comes with the stamp set. And then we're also going to need a jig, which is sold separately from Concord and 9th, but you'll need that for these projects. And we're also going to be using the Coordinating Birthday Basics die set. So we're going to take the template, and you can see it says this side up. That's how you want to lay it down. And then we'll peel the background stamp off of the cling. It's very sticky. And then when we're ready to put it down onto the template, you want to put it stamp side down. So the side you would ink up, we're going to put that face down onto this template, and you just want to line it up exactly with the printed images, and then it will make a guide so that as we turn and stamp, everything will line up. Okay, just like that, and it's lined up, so we're going to set it aside, and we're going to bring in our jig and a full-size or regular size MISTI stamping tool. You will need a stamp positioning tool of some kind to do this project. Just want to lay this in the corner. You see there's a big X in the middle of this jig, and then we've got the number 1 in the upper right hand corner. Then we lay our template down, and there's an X on this template as well. So you just line up the 2 X's, and then you're going to close the door of your stamp positioning tool once that is lined up, and we can then pick up the stamp. Everything kind of comes with it, but you can just put that jig back in the corner of your MISTI and remove the template, and then we are ready to get some cardstock and stamp. So I'm going to put some temporary adhesive on the back of my cardstock. This is card front size, and there's little marks that show you where to put your cardstock, little registration marks on all 4 corners, so I can easily line up a piece of paper that's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I have 4 different colors of ink I'm using: Sweet Berry, Orange Creamsicle, Pineapple Smoothie, and Bubblegum. So I just have those lined up, and I'm going to start with my first color, Sweet Berry. And I want to ink up my stamp generously. I'm also being careful, trying not to get too much ink on the negative space of the stamp, but you will get some. And then you just want to press that down as you would with any other stamp, but it's a large stamp, so get even pressure. And then because this is in a stamp positioning tool, we can easily restamp it if you have an image that didn't turn out so good, which, you know, I love that feature. It's so nice. So then we can clean our stamp off really well. I have a wet microfiber cloth. You want to get all the ink off. And then you're going to turn it so the 2 is now in the upper right hand corner, and get out your second color of ink, in this case, Orange Creamsicle. And we're just going to repeat what we did. So the paper has moved, but the stamp has not. So now we ink up that entire background stamp again and stamp. And now everything is being stamped in a different place than it was the first time. And I have an A there that needs a little more ink, so I'm going to go ahead and double stamp. Plus the rest of the colors I'm using for this particular background are light colors, and just to make them more vibrant, I do love to double stamp it. So that looks much better. So we again clean it off, and then color number 3. So we turn and put the 3 in the upper right hand corner, and now we're going to ink up with Pineapple Smoothie. I love this color. It's a little bit yellow, a little bit orange. It's a great color. It's warm and it goes really good with this color combination. So again, I just rub it and try and get even pressure all over. And yet I will take the opportunity to double stamp it. I just like, once you double stamp it and it lines up perfectly and you get that dark, rich stamped image, it's really hard not to double stamp, but to each his own. Do yours how you like it. And then I'll clean this off so we can come in with color number 4, which is going to be Bubblegum. So we've got kind of a bright pink, a light pink, an orange, and an orange yellow. So now I made sure to turn it so I have my 4 in the upper right hand corner now on my jig, and I'm on my 4th color. So I'm going to ink this up really well and fill in the last little bits of my background. And I'm sure we're going to go ahead and double stamp just to finish this off and darken up that really light pink. And I just love this color combination. So fun for a birthday. And I guess it's pretty girly, but you can see how you could easily change the color and make a background for anybody. So then we just peel that off and look at how gorgeous that is. And then we just want to clean off our jig. It gets the ink on the sides that don't have the paper. You could do a 6x6 piece of paper in here, or 5x5, and then you can use an adhesive eraser to get off that temporary adhesive off of the jig and off of the paper if you like. Clean the stamp off, and then we're ready to make some cards. I'm excited to be making cards with these. So here's the background we just made with all the colors, and you can see how the cupcakes have different colored tops. So fun. All right, so for this card, we're going to use the large circle die from the die set, and we're going to die cut a circle right out of this paper. And what we're intending to make here is a balloon. So first, I will die cut the circle once I get my plates where I want them. And once we get that die cut, we're going to use another of the small dies from this stamp set to create the balloon. And we'll save that. I've got a little bonus project with that on the PDF tutorial. So here's that tiny little piece that we'll use for that bottom of the balloon. So just line that up and then run that through, and you can see we'll have a really cute balloon. I guess it's really a giant balloon, but it's so fun for shakers. All right, so we're done with that, and I had to put that tiny die immediately back on the magnet so I didn't lose it. Now I'm going to put a piece of vellum on the back of this. So my window for my shaker card is going to be covered in vellum. And to stick that down to the back of my card, I'm using Easy Glide adhesive by FSJ. You know, really any strong adhesive works here, so use whatever you like. There's so many adhesives out there. You know which ones you like and work best for you. But if you don't, Easy Glide is so strong. It's a good adhesive. All right, so now I want to stamp the vellum balloon, and I'm going to have it say happy birthday. So I'm going to lay that on there and pick it up with the door of my mini MISTI now. And then if you open it really slow, it tends not to pick up the paper as bad. So I'm going to use my Sweet Berry ink and stamp the happy birthday right there on the balloon. These clear stamps sometimes are so sticky that they will pick up the paper. So that's why I was saying to open the door of your stamp positioning tool very slowly, and then it doesn't always move the paper. All right, at the last minute, I decided I'm going to emboss this with clear powder. So I just brought that out, and I was like, oh no, because I did not pre-prep it with my anti-static tool, but I'm going for it. So I prepped the area around it without smudging the ink, and then I'll pour on some clear embossing powder and tap that off. Awesome. And then I'm going to make sure that my heat gun is very hot before I start putting it on top of my stamped image. And that way it's going to melt that powder fast and not warp that vellum as much as it could. Also, I'm going to die cut the word happy, and I wanted to make it easy to stick this onto vellum, so I got a piece of white liner sheet. It's like adhesive paper that has adhesive on both sides, stuck it to the back of my cardstock, and then die cut that. So now I have all these teeny tiny letters that have adhesive on the back. And I'm going to tell you, this is the best method to stick these letters down, because on the 4th card I did not do this, and I was very sad that I didn't. So you'll have to watch for that on card number 4. So just peeling off these letters. The release paper wanted to come off, and I really wanted it to stay on until I was ready to take it off, but yeah. So then we just use the negative piece as a template for sticking down the letters, so I didn't have to like guess on spacing and all of that. So I could just line those up inside the die cut piece and not have to stress out about lining them up and them going uphill or downhill. Or on the first card I made with these letters, I actually used the H as the Y and the Y as the H, and I couldn't figure out why my Y looked so funny. So this helps with that as well. And then we'll put the last one in. Oh, part of the negative piece of the Y stuck to my paper there. I had to pick it off. So once we get that in, then you can just move that template out of the way and press your letters down. I'm going to use the back of my crease tool to really press these into the paper. Some of the paper, gets kind of like an embossed image from the die, like where the little teeny tiny holes are, and so you can kind of rub that out with the crease tool. So there we have our happy birthday. And now we need to turn this into a shaker. So I'm going to be using some foam strips by Rhoades. I really like these because they're thin and they're really bendable. So when you're trying to make a shaker around something that is curved and not just 4 straight sides, these are great foam strips for that. So I'm going to just go all the way around my balloon. I didn't want to make the whole entire back of the card a shaker, because then my little sequins would fall way down into the white space. So that's why I'm going all the way around the balloon. Otherwise, I would have had to put a ton of shaker bits in there. So I lined the balloon, and then I also am going to come back and use some extra pieces to fill in that open space, because I don't want my card to be like loose and kind of sag in some spots. And then I'll fill in with also some foam squares, because they are the same thickness as the foam strips. And then I'm rubbing the edge of that foam strip with my anti-static tool so that my sequins don't stick to it once they're closed up inside that shaker. Then I have the sunrise sequin mix, and I'm putting them in a pile where that balloon opening is going to be. And then I'll go ahead and remove the paper, the release paper, from the back of these foam strips, and I'll be able to lay that down on the card and have a shaker. I felt like I needed a few more foam squares up here. So we got that, and then I'll just be slow and careful so that I have a white border all the way around. And once I get it where I want, I'm really pressing it down so none of those sequins can escape. And now we have a vellum shaker card. It's like you want to pop the balloon and get all the fun surprise out. All right, here I have some special day twine. It's like white that has gold threaded through it. It's really fun. It's great for a birthday. And I'm going to take a glue dot and roll it up and stick it right where I want that bow to be that I tied in the twine. Press the knot down onto that, and then I'll trim the one end long, and the other end I'm going to trim actually really short and kind of tuck that up under the bow. And then I'm going to do a little line of glue, liquid glue, and then I can glue the tail of the twine down onto that glue, and then it looks like the string of the balloon. So I'm going to set a block on top of this and let it just dry for a few minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to pull out some rainbow drops. I love these. There actually is blue and purple in this set, but I recently used a lot of my blue and purple on my happy stamping box. It was all mermaids, and some of you probably did that with me, and that's where these came from. So I have a ton of the yellow and orange and green left over. So I thought they went perfect. And these are really translucent, and so even using the red next to the bright pink kind of gives it a bright pink feel. They're really versatile. You don't have to worry too much about them being the exact right color because of them being translucent. They kind of pick up the color of the things around them. So they're amazing. I love them. So added about 5 of those with some glue dots, and then I can snip the end off of this twine, and there's my card. Isn't it fun? I love a twist on a shaker card with vellum. All right, so now we're going to move on to card number 2. Here is the color combination I used: Pool Play, Cool Pool, Fresh Forest, and Sweet Pear. And I stamped it exactly the same way I did on the first example. And for this card, we're going to have some fun with silk. So I brought out my Cool Pool silk. I'm going to shake it up to get all that metallic, shiny goodness mixed in with the liquid. And then when you pull it out, you're just going to tap the end of the brush so that it splatters all across your paper. Now you can do a lot of splatter, a little, whatever you like, and then when it dries, it'll have a nice metallic sheen to those little splatters. So let that dry. It just takes a minute. And then I'm going to prep some Cool Pool cardstock with my anti-static tool, and then I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments from the stamp set, hooray, in the center of this and emboss it with white powder. So just close my door to pick that sentiment up, and then I'll ink it up with some clear pigment ink. I couldn't stand the dust there, so I had to wipe that off before I went any further. And then because I'm stamping with clear and my stamp positioning tool, I usually will stamp it 2 times when I'm doing clear embossing ink, just to make sure it's nice and thick. And I'm not going to have any spots where the powder won't stick. Then I'll pour on some white embossing powder, tap off the excess into my coffee filter, and we will heat that up with a hot embossing gun and melt that. I like to heat it from the front and the back, which just helps prevent warping the paper. Also, I kind of like to start from the back, because if you're hitting embossing powder with a gun that's not all the way hot, it could blow off some of the powder. So if you start from the back, it doesn't always do that. I'm going to stamp this Fresh Forest paper with the polka dot image from the stamp set, and I'm going to emboss those with white as well, creating a little background for a die cut piece. So bring back that powder. I just have my coffee filters in a little container that used to be for Cool Whip, and they fit in there perfectly, and then I can take it out, fold it in half, pour the powder back in my little jar, and I've got the next coffee filter ready to go, and they're being held upright so that it's not losing its shape. So that's my little hack on embossing that I like to do. And then I'm going to cut out this triangle shape from the die set to make a party hat. And while I'm die cutting, I might as well die cut my other pieces that I'm going to use for the hat, and then the little party blower as well. So I've also got Sweet Pear is that really light color, and then the medium color is the lemongrass. So let's get all these pieces lined up, and then we'll bust out the glue and put these fun things together. I am in love with the little party blower. Like, it's so cute. And the little like star thing that goes on top of the hat. It's also just like a good confetti piece. And then check out this polka dot hat, so cute. All right, so we're gonna use some liquid glue. Oh, I'm just buffing off the anti-static powder there with a little Swiffer cloth. And then with a little dot of liquid glue, it's kind of a lot, so I ended up dabbing some off on a little piece of garbage and then was able to stick that on. So I laid that under the blocks just so it could help adhere while I work on the little party blower. So this little piece fits on there perfect, and you can line it up really easily. The second piece can either glue on top of that, or I glued it behind to kind of make it bigger and have like a mouthpiece. And then I also put that under a block to kind of dry. Next, I'm going to die cut that little, I don't even know what to call that thing. It's the little puff ball that goes on top of the party hat, but I die cut 3 from the Pool Play cardstock. So now I've got all the colors in my background represented in my little accessories. So I die cut those as well. And then I'm going to glue my card front down onto a piece of lemongrass cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it at 5 1/2. And then I'm going to take a piece of vellum. You'll notice a theme in these cards. Every card I do today incorporates vellum on it. So this little strip of vellum goes in the middle of the card, and it goes all the way to the edge of the card. So it's 4 1/4 inches wide. And then this piece is also 4 1/4 inches wide, but I'm going to glue it down at a little bit of an angle, adhere it down with my Easy Glide. There we go. Then we're going to put on these super cute embellishments. The little party blower I'm going to stick on with some liquid glue because it's easy to get those tiny little dots on the skinny parts. So that was a perfect adhesive for that. Cute. A little extra glue there. And then the party hat we'll put on with some foam squares. Pop it up. A little half piece on that skinny top part. And that'll stick down really nice right there. And then I'm going to put down some dots of glue, and then I decided I would use my jewel picker to stick those down to the dots of glue, and that just made it a little bit easier. Now this Cool Pool cardstock is not a big contrast from the, wait, I think I got them mixed up. Cool Pool cardstock that says hooray, and then we have the Pool Play on top of that, and I just felt like it wasn't very much of a contrast, so you'll see what I'm going to do to kind of highlight them at the end. But first I put on a few more of these rainbow drops in the green just to finish off this really fun party look of my card. So then I'm going to bring in my white gel pen and add some detail to my little party blower. Just like I have white accents on my party hat, I wanted some white accents on the party blower too. So I'm just adding some stripes to that, really simple and easy thing you can do with your gel pen. If you have trouble with a gel pen, just go with a really light hand when you use it. If you press down too hard, the ball inside of it cannot roll around. So now I felt like I wanted to make those little pom-pom things, let's call them confetti, stand out more. So I'm covering them with Journey Glaze. And I decided I better get the one on the hat too. And I'll just let you know, when you start glazing things, it's a little bit addictive and fun, and you find yourself thinking, what else could I put the glaze on? And so I decided after I finished these little asterisks, little pom-poms, little confetti thingies, that the party blower should have it too and should be completely covered with it. So that's what I'm doing here, and the only reason why this is maybe a deterrent is because it just takes a while to dry. But if you're already glazing things, why not throw more on there? It's just fun, and it is like an amazing look at the end. So I just let that dry, and I love how this card turned out. It's just so fun, and it could be a masculine card, which, you know, we always need more of those. So there we have it. Okay, card number 3. Look at these colors. 2 purples, 2 kind of turquoise greens. I am in love with this card. So it is going to be kind of a die cut card. So I have a piece of vellum here that I'm going to die cut with the gift card die pouch. Gift card pouch die. There we go. I'm going to use a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock. It is smaller than the die, but when you die cut it, you still have room to put adhesive on those little flaps. So don't feel like you need to use a wonky size piece of paper. Just cut your cardstock in half and you'll have plenty of room for adhesive on those tabs. I'm going to bring the die back in, and this time I'm going to die cut just the top part with my background. And this is going to give me an inlay piece, but I don't need the adhesive flaps, so I just cut along that score line to remove them. And I'm going to adhere that to the back of my pouch. So this pocket is going to have a vellum front, and then the back will be decorated with the background. So let's decorate the front now. I'm going to stamp on it, so that's why I'm not adhering down that background just yet. So I'm going to fold that in half and place it in my MISTI, and we'll magnet that down. And I'm bringing in another stamp from the set, Best Day Ever. So I laid that where I want it. I decided I would use all my magnets there. And I'm going to stamp just the word best. See how that's stuck there? Yeah, you have to be careful. You get those magnets back in place. There we go. All right, so to ink just the word best, I'm going to take a Post-it note and I'm going to cover up Day Ever. So those are covered with the Post-it note. I'm going to bring in my Grape Fusion, which is the darkest color in my background, and ink up just the word best. And then remove the Post-it note. That's a very important step in this masking technique. And then press down and stamp the word best. That came out really good, which I'm glad since my paper's moving all over the place. And then I'm going to clean off the word best, and I'm going to do the opposite for day. So I'm going to cover up best, day, and then I'm going to stamp just the word ever. My camera died in the middle of doing this, so I'm kind of reenacting it here for you, but you can see I covered up best day, and then I'm just stamping the word ever. And I scooted it down so I had a big space in the middle. And I'm going to put a die cut there. So see this little banner says day. I'm going to cut that from Grape Fusion, cut a couple of the bows and a couple of the single banner pieces. And here's all the pieces once I had die cut everything. So now I can take those little banner pieces and put them on the back of that entire banner piece, and that is going to be kind of the backdrop for my little letters there. And it is like a fraction of a hair smaller than the banner on the front, so they are easy to put on there. And then I did save the negative pieces of these letters so that I could put them back in. So the D has its negative piece and the A does too, and it's the tiniest thing. I can't believe I did not lose it. There we have it. I just blast my little vellum with my heat gun to dry that ink. And then you can also take like a scratch piece of paper and lay it gently down over your stamped image to kind of check and see if it's dry or blot. It's like a blotter. You blot up any excess ink that didn't quite dry. And I had a tiny bit, so I knew it's probably ready to go. But before I move forward, I felt like I should go ahead and adhere this. So I'm going to use my Easy Glide adhesive again because I feel like tape type adhesive does not show through vellum as much as a liquid would, because a liquid, think about when you were like in kindergarten and you put way too much glue on something and then you lay it down, it kind of bubbles up. That's what could happen here. And you could see there, I had to reposition it a little bit, and man, that stuff is sticky. It did not want to come off. So I feel good about the Easy Glide holding this background on really well for me. And then I'm going to fold over my little tabs and crease them into place. And then I'm going to put on some white liner tape here. You could use the Easy Glide again, but I really want to make sure this pocket would stay shut. This is the strongest non-liquid adhesive that I have. And my tip about this is to get your adhesive as close to the inside edge of those tabs so that when you close the front, none of your adhesive is going to be on the outside of your pocket, if that makes sense. Mine was hanging out a little bit. But I'm loving this Easy Glide for vellum adhesive. So I put that on the biggest parts of my banner, and then on the tiny parts, I'm going to come in with my liquid glue so that those are not going to be flapping in the breeze. They'll be glued down. And then the same for my teeny tiny little bows. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive, and those will go right on the end of the banner. So cute. This again is Cool Pool. And the darkest color ink I used on this project is called Turbo Teal. So we have Turbo Teal, Cool Pool, Grape Fusion, and Pretty Amethyst for the 4 colors. Isn't it fun? I love these colors. Of course, Rainbow Drops. So you can see I do still have a few of the purple and blue left. And I felt like, oh, let's put a mix of colors. But then I felt like, I think I have enough purple on the outside of this card. So let's just put the blue ones and bring out that Turbo Teal color from the background. So that's what I ended up doing, sticking them on with some glue dots, and they're going to be the perfect little embellishment to finish off this little pocket. I love these things, these little pockets to like hang on the outside of a gift bag, and you could slip a little handwritten note into this pocket, and of course a gift card fits perfectly in there, and I just love gift cards as a gift. So super cute. I'm going to tie a little bit of twine at the top of this in that hole there. I'm not going to tie it too tight, and I am going to do kind of a big bow. So if I do decide to tie this at the top of a gift bag, I can easily undo the bow and tie it on a bag. And then if I don't put it on a gift bag and I just give it to somebody, it's got a cute bow at the top. So done, ready to go. Like that. And you can see that adhesive barely shows through the back. So I don't think anybody's going to be inspecting that, but you could put another piece of paper over the back of it if you felt like it needed it. There we go. That's project number 3. Check out number 4, Black and Shades of Gray. Oh my word. Now it's time to make a card that's a little bit more grown up. Maybe for somebody that's getting a little bit older, like nearing the top of the hill, right? So I have a piece of black licorice cardstock. We're going to die cut a rectangle from the middle. This is the second to the largest rectangle from the Journey Rectangles die set. So when I put it on my 5.5 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock, it cut a nice little frame that I could use for a shaker. This is shaker card number 2 for this video. How fun is that? If you're just meeting me for the first time, you should know that I love shaker cards. And if you have known me for a while, you're not surprised at all. So I put a piece of window sheet there that was just a fraction smaller than the 5.5 by 4 1/4, so it was easy to stick on. Now I have a piece of white liner sheet, so it's a sheet of sticky, and I'm putting it on the back of the vellum, and I'm going to die cut that from, I'm die cutting it with, I mean, the largest circle from that die set, and then I can peel this off and the whole entire piece is sticky. It's my favorite way to add vellum to things, is just to cover the entire thing with sticky. And then I've got a nice vellum circle there, and you can still see through it to see the background. Little excess adhesive there I had to remove. All right, so now we're going to die cut some fun things to put on there. So I'm die cutting the word happy, and what I decided to do was die cut them with adhesive on the back and layer them up. So I'm going to have about 3 layers of letters. It's exactly 3 layers, not about. So each letter has 3 pieces of cardstock stuck together. So I thought this was super clever, but in the end, what I didn't do was get adhesive on the back of it. Like, they each had adhesive so they could stick to each other, but they don't have adhesive on the back. So if to do that, I would have had to have one of my layers have the adhesive sheet on the front of it and the back of it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyways, this is the card where I end up gluing the letters to my project, and I was really wishing I had the adhesive on the back. So I'm also going to use my Serif Basics die to die cut the letters 5 and 0. So it can be a happy 50th card. So again, this die cuts without the platform. See, I removed the platform and it's such a thick die, you just run it through with a plate on the top and the bottom. And now I'm gluing together those letters, or numbers, sorry, because I want them to match the happy, so they're also 3 layers thick. These I did not use the adhesive because they're big enough that it's super easy to put the glue on and stick them together. So no adhesive sheet needed for that. So now I'm going to bring back in that negative piece that says happy and also the little numbers so I can kind of eyeball where I want things to go. And then once I figured out where I want the happy, I'm going to tape that in place so it is my guide once again for putting my letters down. So here's like, okay, let's just try it with the glue. Let's see how I do. And, you know, at first it was fine. I was able to get teeny tiny dots of glue. So you really can do it this way if you don't have the adhesive sheets, but I'm telling you, once you get adhesive sheets, you will find that you aren't sure how you lived without them before. It's one of those things, like it's worth investing. So now here's the part that made it not as fun. Removing the template, because glue takes a while to dry on vellum because it's a non-porous surface. So some of my letters weren't all the way stuck down, and I just like the adhesive better, so I recommend that, but you can do it with glue. And then I'll glue down my little numbers as well, and I'm just going to have it say happy 50. I didn't have a TH to do the 50th, and I thought it was kind of fun. Happy 50. And I will get that 0 straight if that's bugging you. Don't worry. I've got it. Probably. I'll get it mostly straight. There we go. All right. Isn't that fun? Happy 50. Okay, so now we're making this a shaker. So I'm going to take my Scotch 3M tape because I don't need to bend it in a circle. So this is my go-to adhesive for shaker cards when I don't have to bend it into a circle. I love good adhesives, and I like having the right adhesive for the job. When I folded this in half to make it thicker, I got a little bend in it, and so I had to cut it at weird spots to get that little bend out of it, and so that's why you'll see me like piecemealing this together when normally you don't have short bits and long bits, you just have really long pieces, and it's easier to kind of build your shaker frame, but that's what I'm doing here if you're wondering what this craziness is of piecemealing things together. Yeah, you know how it goes sometimes. You just make it work, right? All right. I noticed a little spot there I had to fill in with adhesive. And then I also went around the edge with my anti-static tool, and now I'm putting this diamond dust in there. I found this at the scrapbook show, diamond dust. He said it's like actual pieces of cut glass. Anyways, I ended up putting about 2 teaspoons of it in there because I was in love with it. And now I'm adding some silver sequins, just about half a teaspoon of those, and I thought it was like a disco ball. Like, it's so much fun. And like, this happy 50 card is going to make somebody actually happy to be 50, I think. I love it that much. I think it's my favorite card. So I'm removing all the bits. Oh, here's the part where I noticed I had a little gap, and so I had to fill in a tiny piece of the adhesive, so we don't want any of the diamond dust falling out and escaping. So I'm removing these strips, and then I'm going to put this down onto the background, and I thought I was like really good and getting it perfectly straight on there. Not quite. You can see I've got a little, yeah, that at the top. So I just cut it off, and no one will ever know that it wasn't perfect. And then I have a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece of paper folded at 5.5 inches. And for some reason I picked up my glue that was empty that I probably just need to throw away, but I am gluing this down to my card, and I'm going to use my Misty tool so that when I stick this one down, I am not going to have a big gap hanging out anywhere. So I just check that, and then I use my MISTI to kind of press down on it, and there we go. So now I have my clear Wink of Stella. I'm not sure if you can see, but I squeezed it to get it going and a little puddle came out. So I'm just picking that up off my glass mat and using it. And I'm gonna cover all these letters and numbers on the front of my card to make them special and shiny and shimmery. And I think it's like the perfect added touch to this, because we've got that diamond dust on the inside, so it's just like playing with the shimmery, sparkly goodness of this card. And then to really make it pop, of course, we're gonna need some journey glaze. So I'm gonna cover the word happy and the 50, and once this dries, it's almost magical. It's so gorgeous. So if you have not tried a glaze of some kind, it's fabulous. It's like the perfect thing to add to something that's supposed to be glass or shiny, or something that needs to just like pop off the card and it's not quite doing it. Glaze it. It does take a while to dry, so if you like need to make the card and give it away in like 30 minutes, don't do glaze. But if you've got time to let it dry, yeah, it's transformative. So I thought I needed a couple little sequins on here, or rhinestones, whatever you want to call them, because if the shaker bits are all down in one corner, then you've got the little shiny things there too. And I thought that was going to be the end of my card. And then I went to take photos of it and I was like, it needs something. So I came back and I cut some strips of glitter paper, and this paper already had adhesive on the back of it. So I just cut them into like 1/8 of an inch strip, and I'm gonna make a frame around the outside of this card. So I'm again bringing in something glittery and shiny, and I think this is like the finishing touch that this card really needed. So I'm gonna snip them off so it's flush with the edge of the card. And then we'll put them on the sides of the card as well. Let's try the other end. There we go. Yeah, this is the thing that this card needed. I was a little hesitant to do it. Like, what if I stick this down and I don't like it? But I laid them on there and I thought, yeah, it needs it. A little something extra. So that is how I finished off card number 4. I'm loving these backgrounds, you guys. You could just make a bunch of them and have them on hand to make a birthday card. So fun. And you can see the glaze is dry on there. Yeah, it's amazing. Love it. All right, I hope you guys have had so much fun making these cards with me. I really do hope that you will recreate them. That would make me so happy. If you do, please share them with me. If you're interested in any of the things I use to make these cards, there's a link in the comments below to all the supplies. And if you have any questions, I would love to help you. So just reach out. And I thank you again for purchasing my tutorial. And if you haven't already, you should subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out all my cards and all my videos. Thank you so much. I look forward to stamping with you again very soon. Happy stamping!